Koinonia House presents The Book of Romans, a commentary, written and narrated by Dr. Chuck Missler. Now let's begin with the Book of Romans.
The Epistle to the Romans. Now, whether you realize it or not, this is regarded by many experts as probably the most profound piece of writing in existence. It's probably one of the most challenging books in the entire Bible, Epistle of Romans. And it's going to reveal something that's easy to say, but not easy to really understand, the grace of God. The grace of God revealed. And we're going to look at just the first few verses as we get started here. Book of Romans. The theme, the grace of God revealed. And if I gave you a written quiz right now on what is the grace of God, and you filled it out, at the end of the sessions, I ask you the same assignment, I think you'd find no comparison between our conceptions going in and what we'll learn in the next number of sessions. On the one hand, it's God's righteousness, and there's one book in the Bible devoted to God's righteousness that most of us don't study. The book of Leviticus is on His holiness, His righteousness. That's not the problem. It's our iniquity and the gulf between His righteousness and our iniquity. And what He presents to us is His remedy for that gulf, and it's through grace. Glibly said, often preached on, but profoundly challenging. In fact, Socrates, in 500 BC, wrote to Plato an interesting statement. He said, "It may be that Deity can forgive sins, but I do not see how." Profound statement that shows great understanding. That Deity, apparently Deity can forgive sins, but Socrates understood enough about it to realize it apparently is impossible. And we'll explore that. As most of you realize, on all of these commentaries that I assemble are really compilations as I peruse, the best that I can find and glean what I can from other writers. But it may surprise you that one of the scholars that I value the highest in his theology in this area is Hal Lindsey. Most of you know that name as Hal Lindsey, the expert in prophecy. And indeed, he has that image. But many of you, unless you know him personally, you may not realize that his longest suit, in my opinion, is the book of Romans. He's a 35-year Greek scholar, and he mines this treasure like few others do. And he has an interesting acronym that I want to share with you right up front. GRACE. He treats it as an acronym. God's riches at Christ's expense. We're going to discover that nothing less than the sacrifice of Jesus Christ is what it took to bridge this gulf between our sinfulness and God's holiness. Sounds simple to say, but we're going to explore all of that as we go. So I draw on Hal's acronym, and much of our insights and background I've gleaned by my fellowship with him over the years. It's interesting to look at the Bible and realize that it starts off with 5 books, the Torah, as the Jews call it, the Pentateuch, as the Greeks would call it, the 5 books of Moses, a pivotal spot. The New Testament's the same way. There's 5 historical books up front. Matthew, Mark, Luke in 2 volumes, and John. Second volume of Luke we call the book of Acts. And many people believe those 2 volumes are written as the legally required precedent documents for an appeal to Caesar. And there's reasons that some scholars have come to that conclusion. It's interesting, the book of Acts ends with Paul going to Rome. From Acts 15 on, no one else is mentioned. There's lots of other things mentioned, Philip and Peter and whatever, but from Acts 15 on, it's all Paul. And it finishes with Paul on his way to Rome. In fact, Acts 27 has so much seamanship detail, we were able to find the actual anchors that were cut loose during that storm. But since it ends with Paul in Rome, his epistle to the Romans then is, in a sense, a natural continuation of the book of Acts. And for that reason, it's placed that way in our collection that we call the New Testament. Now, the role of this book, many people call it the definitive gospel according to Paul.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?